Hey, how's it going, everybody? Buff here. So I recently just finished Lies of P, and I want to do a boss ranking from easiest to hardest. My only caveats on this one are I did use NPC summons. I never put any points into health, and I did every single optional boss. With that said, I just want to get straight into the rankings, starting with Puppet of the Future. He is just a huge mechanical puppet with about 3 moves, all predictable and easily telegraphed. Yes, they hit hard and the environment gets to you, but all in all, if you just take your time, he would probably be the easiest boss. You also do get the opportunity to fight this boss 3 times, so by then you already have all the knowledge you need. I'm going to save us some time, and I'll say the next 8 bosses I would put together. And that's Owl Doctor, Mad Donkey, the Atoned, Robber Weasel, Black Cat, Red Fox, Survivor, and White Lady. Also, if it's making it easier, it's just all of the Stalker NPC boss fights. They're all relatively easy. Perfect pairing breaks all their weapons, and they have very low life pools to begin with. So depending on which fight you get into, you might have more difficulty than the other. Like the White Lady is extremely annoying due to her parry, but at the end of the day, they're just humans, and they're very, very easy to beat. Now, after you've completed and beat all of the Stalker NPCs, I'd say the next hardest fight is the Parade Master. The Parade Master is the first boss you fight in Lies of P. I found him pretty difficult because I wasn't getting used to the pairing mechanic yet, and I was just dodging. It did end up working pretty well, but he has this really annoying fake out move where he'll just drag it. It looks like he's going to swing, but he just continues to drag his hammer, and then he swings. After I figured that out, the whole fight seemed relatively easy after that, and I had no issues. Now, right after Parade Master, I would also like to give it to Corrupted Parade Master. It's essentially the same fight in my head. At this point, my attack output was going crazy. He didn't really have the opportunity to puke on me and give me decay or even summon the minions. I actually had to read that he summons minions because I've never even seen it. I was using the firearm a lot at this point, so the AoE probably was killing him without me even realizing. And he does just have the same moveset as Parade Master with like 2 or 3 additional moves. If you had an easy time with Parade Master, I genuinely think you'll have an easy time with Corrupted Parade Master. Now, for Scrapped Watchman, this is going to be an interesting take. I know some people find him extremely difficult. I got really lucky, or I'm good at the game, probably a mix of both. I summoned an NPC that just took all the aggro of the Scrapped Watchman from me as I just stood behind him wailing on him. And I beat him in the first try, so I don't even have a lot of knowledge on his full moveset, but I'll try to meet people in the middle and I'll give it that. But my personal experience, I didn't struggle against the Scrapped Watchman. Next, we have King's Flame Foco, or Fuecoco, however you want to pronounce that. He started to actually give me a rough time once he put the whole ground on fire. I had to realize that you had to go behind pillars to avoid taking the damage, and this is where it really started to show that I should have started to spec into life, but I never did. I refused to do it, and all in all, it seemed like one of the more balanced fights in the whole entire game, which would make sense because he's right about in the middle of this tier list. Yeah, he just has a solid moveset. The next boss we'll be talking about is the Door Guardian. He is a pretty easy fight. If you have a good stagger weapon and you just go to town on his leg, you can make quick work of this fight. He hits like a truck. He's got good he can clear the distance really well. But all you have to do is stagger him on his legs a few times. Watch out for the head to come down and hit you. And that's as simple as it gets when it comes to the big guy. Yeah, Door Guardian, just take your time. Next, we have the Mad Clown Puppet. This guy drove me nuts. I actually ran by him to get the Stargazer right in front of the Opera House. And then I ran back and I probably lost a good chunk of times. The timing when he spins with his punches and that last one, I believe it's the 5th one, is a little slower, was getting me a bunch. Well, a lot of my frustration was I was getting pretty good at perfect blocking, but I never was able to break his weapon. I don't even think it's possible. So I had to brute force, but even then he has a huge life pool, and me still having such a little amount of health really started to show still. He's not hard, it was just more I wasn't able to make any mistakes due to the high health pool. Coming in next, we have the Walker of Illusions. The boss fight's really straightforward. She just kind of does a bunch of stabs and a lunge. If you get stuck in this mental trap of just trying to dodge back and heal, she will just get you over and over again. Her biggest gimmick is when you get her to half life, she'll split into two and you gotta find the real one. If you just throw any sort of item or use a Fable art to, AoE the area as they split, it kind of gets rid of the whole gimmick. It makes the battle a lot easier. And as long as you do that, the fight is relatively easy. The next boss fight is the Champion Victor. This, I think, was very easy for me due to just using a specific weapon. I used the scythe-like whip at this point in the game, and as long as you're running away from Champion Victor and let him do his little roll thing at you, it gets really easy to stagger him. He also doesn't have a lot of range on his moves, so if you bring a summon in to take that power slam grab that he does, I think you can have a pretty easy time. He hits like a truck, as most of these bosses are gonna do. But yeah, if you bring a summon in and you bring a long range weapon that staggers easy, this is gonna be a cakewalk. Now, part of me actually wanted to put this lower on the list, but I've watched back people play against this boss and I can realize the actual difficulty that starts to lie within it. And that's gonna be the eldest of the Black Rabbit Brotherhood. I, at this point in the game, ran straight to him. I didn't know this could work. I was praying in every single aspect that if I just took out the eldest brother, the boss fight would end. I wouldn't have to worry about the minions. So the whole game plan was have my summon in the fight, all the siblings would attack the summon, and I would use the Flameberg armor, Legion arm, and just get rid of all of them. Do AoE fire damage to them all at once, hopefully get rid of some people here and there, which did work, and then just brute force the eldest brother until we died. It actually came really, really close. I believe I was down to 0 more flasks. I can't think of the name right now, but I think people are playing too cautiously against the eldest of the Black Rabbit Brotherhood. So at this point, I feel comfortable where he is in the list. The next, I'm going to put the Green Monster of the Swamp. This is the first phase of this boss fight, and he has a few moves that seemed difficult at the beginning, but get relatively easy. Like his dig that I thought was unavoidable. Nope, just had to figure out that you had to run and roll towards him. I'm so used to avoiding everything. And he doesn't have a ton of health, so using any sort of fire-based weapon or even just projectiles is going to help you a ton. This phase went by pretty quick, but it was when we came into the next phase, which is going to be the next number here, is the Puppet Devouring Green Monster. That's where it got a little more difficult. He gets a lot more aggressive. He just seems a lot faster. It's hard to tell when he's ending his moves. And I think this is also the phase where he has like a tongue move that shoots out forward, kind of grabs you and you're stuck in like an animation. I tried my best to use the summon to take the hits just like I did with Champion Victor. I think the biggest problem with this boss fight is the arena size. He has such long range moves, it's hard to avoid. At least if you're trying to stay next to him for an opportunity to swing. Now, if you have the summon still going and he's taking all the aggro, I would say the Puppet Devouring Green Monster is very susceptible to fire damage. I think I was able to stagger him once or twice as well, but he's definitely not as hard as the next few bosses. The next boss fight, we see the return of the eldest brother and the Black Brotherhood. The difference is you will not see the eldest brother until the end of the fight. You have to fight the siblings. And when it comes down to one sibling remaining, then the eldest brother will come out and fight. My biggest tip here is you should probably use a wide range move. I still use the scythe that just swung everywhere. I put acid on and I would swing and try to hit all of the siblings at once so that their life all came down together. And then I would also use the Flameberg Legion arm to try to keep them all bundled up, just like you did earlier when I first ran into them. Now, if you were good against the eldest brother, you're still not going to have a hard time here. I think he gets 1 or 2 new moves. He gets like the shockwave that shoots out like blue energy. I never got hit by that personally, so I don't know if you can parry it or anything. I just dodged, and Yeah, he's still the same guy. If you had an easy time, you're gonna have an easy time there. I do see a lot of people struggling with this boss fight though. Now, I think this might be the hottest take I have in the whole list because it's gonna be Laxasia the Complete. I probably butchered the hell out of that name. She is a menace, and I don't want to downplay that in any single way. But with a summon and some good spacing and just understanding her moveset, she's not as hard as I think people are making her out to be. At this point in the game, you know almost all the mechanics. You probably have the build that you want. And I don't think a lot of people know that on her second phase, when she's shooting lightning, if you perfect guard, it just gets sent right back to her like you're like Link and Ganon doing the lightning bolt fight back in the day. She will dash. I don't know if there's a specific timing on that. I got really lucky on a dodge roll. But I think one of the biggest complaints people have with her is when you get like a guard crush or she's on her knees, she has like a fake out moment where she'll smack the ground and keep going. As long as you don't fall for that, or when she's doing her 1001 swings, just run away. If you have enough stamina, that is, just keep running away. She'll do 2 or 3 big arch swings, and then you can go in for a few hits. Just be patient, don't get greedy, and don't get overwhelmed by how many times she's attacking at you, and you should be just fine. Next, we have Simon Manus, Hand of God. I played during the nerf on the first phase where they reduced the health first. His first phase is relatively a joke. At this point, I swapped my weapon to a katana, and I just stood underneath his legs as much as I possibly could. He seems to miss a lot. There seems to be like some bugginess going on, but he does have very far-reaching moves. He can clear the distance easy, and that's not even talking about his second phase where he's just shooting insta-kill status effects. He's got the Hand of God. That's a big AoE shot that just pushes you against the things. I kept my distance as much as I could against Simon, waiting for that perfect opportunity when all the little dodge roll shots and the Arm of God move. That's usually when I ran in and swing at his legs. He didn't seem to have too much life on his second phase. It was just more of you're dealing with so much coming at you. It kind of reminds me of the final boss of Elden Ring in that sense. But yeah, Simon Manus, the Hand of God, it's just a lot of different moves you need to deal with. But once you get it, you're good. The next boss is Archbishop Andreas. This guy single-handedly took 7 hours from my life. I refused to perfect block at this point in the game. Still had no life total. I was putting everything into the stupid umbrella move, and I was devastated when I found out he had 2 phases. So I finally got good at the first phase, and then you hit the second phase where now he has the long Reaper with a scythe that he's just swinging all over the place. I was at the point in the game where I was almost getting one shot by everything. So I need to just be good every single time. And some of the moves felt awful to go against, like his weird butt slide backwards, or the camera angles in the small arena would have me looking straight up in a corner. That's on me. But I couldn't run away from the butt slam. The butt slam is an insta-kill. And then I also had to deal with the big AoE blue ray thing that he shoots in the second phase. Or what would be like his third-ish phase. This guy single-handedly made me reevaluate the whole game I was playing. The summon barely helped. That was almost like a non-factor. The summon was there to help me with the first phase, because by the second phase, that thing was gone. Yeah, this is a guy that just is like, I genuinely feel is going to make or break a lot of people's runs. I feel like this guy's going to stop people from playing the game. And this is the run killer, you know? I'm not sure if anyone else had that experience. Maybe I'm a scrub at this boss, but Archbishop Andreas, I hope I never have to see again. Coming in at number 2, we have King of Puppets. This fight was amazing. I really enjoyed this fight on a lot of different levels. Again, 2 phase bosses stress me out beyond belief. But the first phase, he's just this big, huge mechanical robot that swings his arms wildly. He's pretty predictable, and he can shoot out like little blue nukes if you give him enough time. And he has a weird AoE scream that I never seem to dodge. I don't know what's up with that. But that first phase is nothing compared to the second phase when you actually see Romeo, King of the Puppets, where he is just dashing around with the scythe, just going crazy. And it really, really reiterates that you need to start perfect blocking, especially if you don't want to put any points in life. If you're just trying to do a straight up dexterity build, he was a pain. And it's a great check because it never feels unfair, if that makes sense. It just feels like another ascension past how I felt against Archbishop Andreas, where it's like, oh, you think you're good at this game? Here, let's really test your mettle here. Let's see if you know what you're doing. So I don't feel like this is the hardest boss in the game. We'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, King of Puppets, great fight all around, felt fair. Life totals felt good. He deserves his spot in number 2, I'd say. Now coming in at number 1 is the Nameless Puppet. This is technically an optional fight at the very end of the game if you refuse to give Geppetto your heart. Now this guy single-handedly also made me respec my entire experience. I didn't respec ever. I put almost everything into stamina and motivity and technique. He made me need to go put health in. This guy took about 5 hours from my life before I made that decision. I got so good at just parrying the first phase with the katana blade to get the damage in. But once the second phase came around, you know, the chords are gone, the strings are not there anymore, and he's just Darth Mauling it up all over the map, and he's sending spears across. Everything was an insta kill for me. If I didn't dodge perfectly, at that point I was already completely on tilt. He just had such a fast moveset, which still felt fair, but you need to be on your game. There's very little downtime in between his moves where you're going to have an opportunity to attack on the second phase. And I think it's just an absolute brilliant final fight. And he deserves his slot at number 1. And to me, if you make me respec my whole entire playthrough for one boss fight, I think that single-handedly deserves the hardest boss of Lies of P. Now, with all that said, everyone's going to have different experiences. We all are going to have different types of builds. You know, if we use summons or not, whatever weird rules we put on ourselves. I just want to hear what you guys think. What's different? We're all going to have different lists, but I'd love to hear who you had an easy experience with. If there was like a tip you had against a certain boss that I mentioned I was struggling against, let me know down in the comments. And if you made it this far, I appreciate you guys so much. I hope you have a fantastic day. I'll see you guys soon. And that's all I really got. Peace.